I'm going to move from keep it simple to a gentleman who has figured out how to use his highly complex postdoctoral work in neurobiology and genetics to create a prototype trail map. So our next speaker is Derek Nurnberg. I should have asked him that before I moderated. He's the founder and CEO of JuicyTrails. An idea that came to him after bad directions led to him getting lost in the backcountry of Colorado with 3 friends and surviving a 35-degree night at 10,500 feet. So that sounds like something that somebody needs to talk to him about over a beer or an ice cream, whatever the case may be. So his postdoctoral fellowships, as I mentioned, in neurobiology and genetics, and the discovery of OpenStreetMap programs provided the inspiration for mapping trails in the same fashion as neurotransmitters and genes. Now, if that is like probably the biggest out-of-the-box idea I have ever thought about. You add some color to those maps, and JuicyTrails were born. So it's only fitting that when I asked him about his memorable outdoor experience, he brought something up that was kind of, again, out of the box. He said, I have a mountain biking problem. My trick to help me fall asleep, which is usually no problem, is to ride my favorite mountain bike loop in my mind. I try to imagine every technical move and all the highlights I shared with my friends. I'm on the Crested Butte Mountain Bike Association board, and last year we closed the season with an inaugural towny loop of Star Pass. It's a 45-mile loop with just under 10,000 feet of climbing along mesmerizing single track, fall colors, and epic alpine scenery throughout U.S. Forest Service lands. About 20 people participated and all finished together. Rides like these etch serene memories that I continue to feel and to serve to connect me with nature and people like no other experiences can. Without our amazing public lands, trails, and people, I doubt I'd have the capacity to comprehend what serenity feels like for me. I have never ridden the entire towny loop over my mind without falling asleep first. Without further ado, Derek Nurnberger.
Well, I can't see it so well. I lost my glasses. JuicyTrails was founded to pursue 2 simple ideas. The first was that I wanted it, and I figured if I wanted it, other people probably wanted it too. And what I wanted was a really easy to read trail map that I could follow on my phone. And the second thing is that, or the second idea was that creating comprehensive and accurate trail maps requires a community trail mapping effort. And the only way to collaborate on a large scale with stuff like trail map data is if everyone uses a single open database. And Google Maps is not an open database. So, I need to go forward. So the eureka moment for something like JuicyTrails came to me a few years ago, like she said, when I was riding with 3 of my friends, or visiting Durango, Colorado to go mountain biking with 3 of my friends. And what we wanted to do for our last big ride is we wanted to ride from the Durango, or what's called now the Purgatory Resort, over to the Colorado Trail and ride it down into Durango. And the problem was that we could not find any maps that showed the perfectly legal and public trails connecting the backside of Purgatory Resort to the Colorado Trail. So we ended up running into a local guy who drew us a map on a piece of receipt paper, and we were like, good enough. So we headed out into the backcountry, and sure enough, we came upon a fork in the road that was not in the map. One trail went down one drainage, the other trail went down a different drainage. So we had a 50-50 chance. We took our best guess and we went down the wrong trail. So long story short, we ended up spending the night at 10,500 feet. It's 35 degrees. We didn't have any warm clothes. We were really dumb heading out to the backcountry without any warm clothes, no food, no water. So we spooned the night out together. And my spooning partner was nicknamed Filth. And I can tell you that he came by that nickname, honestly. That dude stunk. And I'm not sure whether it was his fumes or the hypothermia, but I had a few visions that night. So in one of the visions, I got to press the clicker. In one of the visions, I envisioned the ultimate solution for our predicament. Wouldn't it be really neat if all the major trail intersections had trail maps on them? And wouldn't it be neat if those trail maps had map codes that we could use to download the maps and follow them on our phones, even without cell signal? So I had a job at the time, so I tucked that idea in my back pocket and went back to work as a postdoctoral fellow doing developmental biology research. And at the time, I was working with some mice that I had selectively bred for high and low aggression. These are a few figures from some papers that I published. I'm not going to dive into the details, don't worry. But anyways, so what we're looking at here is where I'm used to pointers and all this stuff, so sorry. So what we're looking at here is the NC100 mice, or the low aggression mice, NC900s, or the high aggression mice. This is benzodiazepine GABA A receptor binding throughout their brains. The low aggression mice generally have more in lots of areas. The next one over is CFOS, early gene expression throughout their brains. Again, the NC100s have more. And then in the next one, we're looking at serotonin cells throughout their brains, and again, the NC100s have more. Great. But the thing about this is that there's a lot of similarities if you're doing mapping. It doesn't matter if you're doing neurobiological mapping or genetic mapping. Here, we're not actually looking at GABA A receptors. We're not looking at CFOS, early gene expression. We're not looking at serotonin cells. What we're looking at are readable targets or markers that selectively bind to the things that we're interested in looking at. It helps us visualize data, things we want to look at, count, analyze, evaluate. So in fact, this is how most biological molecular biology experiments work. Well, maybe not most, but a lot. You've got a readable tag, it binds to your molecule that you want to evaluate. So in my spare time, I did some joy reading about technological advances in mapping, and at some point I came across OpenStreetMap data, or OpenStreetMaps, and if you haven't already heard, it is a open data map of the world. Anyone can contribute to it. Hundreds of thousands of people are contributing to this map. So anyone can contribute to it, anyone can extract data from it, anyone can use the map to create a map. So OpenStreetMap data is comprised of essentially three basic elements. There's a node, which is just a latitude and longitude point, and it has an ID. And then there's ways, which are just ordered strings of nodes. And then there are tags, okay? And so you cannot see the data in the map unless it's been tagged. But with tags, you can do really cool things with the data. And with style sheets, you can create new and interesting maps that highlight the data that you want to look at. And I was like, oh. So I did a little more research, and I discovered, that all the trails in the US can be broken down in just a very few categories. You can have a path, which can be paved or unpaved, and where the permitted uses are unknown, and then all the other trails fit into these categories. You could have a hiking trail, hiking horse, hike bike, hike horse bike, motorcycle, ATV, four-wheel drive. And all the tags already existed for labeling the OpenStreetMap data. And so I was like, well, it might be possible to create a single user map that's useful to every kind of trail user in one map style. And wouldn't that be neat? And the reason I thought that is because as a bikers can travel more trails than anybody else other than hikers. And it's really useful to know what all the permitted uses on trails are. So I thought it would be useful to include that in one map. So here is a map or example of how such a map could look. This is a map of trails around Crested Butte where I live. So the green trails are motorcycle trails, dark orange trails are hiking, horse and bike trails, the purple trails are hiking and biking trails, the light orange trails are hike and bike, the brown ones are four-wheel drive trails. You get the idea. All right, so then after that, I spent quite a bit of time refining the map style so it would be extremely easy to read on a mobile device. And then I partnered with an extremely talented developer who was able to create a single web application that serves as a mapping platform and also as a map app. We called it JuicyTrails. I don't have the time to go through all the different features of the platform, but one thing I would like to point out is that when you go to the home page, you can find the map, and then there's this link that's called Improve This Map. And what it does is it opens our OpenStreetMap ID editor that's been customized for JuicyTrails. And here where the red hatch line is the way. Here are our tags on the left. And so anyone can go in here and use this editor to map trails. The JuicyTrails server picks up the way data, the tags, and then this data tells the servers to color the trails the way we've determined to color them. All right, and so this is how it sort of works in action. What we're looking at now is the same editor, and this is Bing aerial imagery, which you can select from a layer. And then this blue data is Strava heat map data. Has anybody heard of Strava heat map? It's the best thing that's happened to trail mapping ever. So Strava goes out, and what it does is it collects all its user information. So they have billions and billions of data points. If there's a trail out there, somebody's been on it with Strava. You can see it. And it's all available as open data in this OpenStreetMap platform and our mapping platform. So if you'll start the video, this is what it takes to, oh, go back. So to map a trail, all a user does is rough in a trace using the Strava heat map data as a reference, then clicks on the slide tool, and that'll align the trail to the Strava heat map data. Then you tag it. It's highway equals path, give it a title, bicycles equals yes, give it a commit message so other people know that what you're doing, and then you upload it to OpenStreetMap, and then the JuicyTrails server picks it up within 24 hours and shows it in the map. Having problems with the clicker, sorry. So 2 weeks after rolling out this beta version of JuicyTrails, we landed our first client. The Gunnison Crested Butte Tourism Association was embarking on a major trail signage initiative for the entire Gunnison Valley in response to a lot of problems that they were having. People were trespassing on ranching lands. There were a lot of user conflicts. People were getting lost. Search and rescue was constantly going out and rescuing people in the wilderness. And 2 years ago, a lady got lost. And people think she got lost because she was following an inaccurate map. So the Gunnison Crested Butte Tourism Association had us create a CBG Trails app, which I'll show you here in a minute. But I just want to emphasize that We worked very closely with all the community stakeholders when we mapped trails in the area. We worked very closely with the Forest Service, the Gunnison County GIS office, Gunnison Trails Association, Crested Butte Mountain Bike Association, it was Crested Butte Mountain Bike Association to embark on this project. They'd been working on it for 5 years. And within 2 weeks, we were able to map over 1,000 miles of trails and 1,500 miles of access roads. So this is just to give you a flavor of what the mapping project looks like, or what it did look like. Phil, press play. So there was hardly any map data when we got started, and so we mapped all the trails as highway equals path, and then we worked very closely with people or all the stakeholders to correctly tag all the trails. And like I said, this ended up being a pretty quick process. So the JuicyTrails platform is specifically designed to rapidly deploy both the mapping platform and a mobile trail map for communities, because maps are local products. And so we did just that for the Gunnison Valley and created the CBG Trails app. It's called cbgtrails.com. It's a single web application that serves as the mapping platform. So on the back end, people can map trails, create recommended routes, package maps, embed the maps on their website, and then on the front end, what people see is the web app, the hybrid app, the mobile trail map. We also created trail signs. Like I said, this was initially a trail sign initiative. And so we used the same map style to create trailhead kiosks that have map download codes. So when people walk up to the kiosk, they just go to cbgtrails.com, they type in the map code, bam, they got a map they can follow out on the trail on their phone, whether or not they're online. So we're doing the same thing with there's hundreds and hundreds of trail intersection signs that are going up in national forests. Same deal, they have map codes. And again, the map style that's on the trail sign is the same style that's used on the device, so it really helps people assimilate the information. So it hasn't quite been a year, and the CBG Trails project has been hugely successful. Got tremendously positive feedback from locals and visitors alike. The only way you could really find out about CBG Trails is through the trail signs, and it's been downloaded over 20,000 times, and those trail signs, the season just started in Crested Butte. The snow just melted. So the signs were effectively up for only 1 month. There were only 2 trailhead kiosks and 8 intersection signs that were up at the time, and it was downloaded over 20,000 times. And hundreds of these are going up this year. So all the community stakeholders are really thrilled. The director of the Crested Butte Mountain Bike Association, the community development director, the Gunnison Crested Butte tourism executive director. So I just want to point out something real quick. We thought after we proved this prototype and this proof of concept, after we showed that it worked, last fall we thought we were going to be off to the races. Communities will love this. Maybe other Forest Service Ranger districts would love this. And I was really surprised to find, without exception, I got almost the same objection every single time. And what people fear is they fear rogue trail mapping. People going out mapping non-system trails. And I'm here to tell you that's a myth. The last thing a person who loves secret trails wants to do is give that secret up. You will never find a person who's devoted to secret trails map that trail in OpenStreetMap. There are 3 shown here on this map outside Crested Butte. You can tell by the Strava heat map data where those unmapped trails are. This trail in the upper left-hand corner is called the Plunge Trail. It's been there for years, drops 3,500 feet into the town of Crested Butte. It's awesome, but it's non-system. Nobody wants to map that. There's another trail right here. It is called the Secret Trail. And then there's another trail in the bottom left-hand corner that's on a person's private property. Nobody wants to map those. But if they do map it, it's not such a bad thing because it's easy to handle. And I would argue that, in fact, people want this information because if they were to encounter that trail, they would want to know whether it's legal or not. Most people want to do the right thing if they don't know what the status of the trail is. So the way to handle it is that if a trail, a non-system trail gets mapped in this database, all you have to do is apply an access equals no tag. And that gives you options for how to handle the data. You can show the data or you can hide the data, but you should not fear that the data is there because you determine what's shown in your map. So, and that's how it works. It's just a simple SQL script that determines what data comes into your map and then how you use it. It's trivial. So there's another huge benefit to not only for trail users, but there's a huge benefit for people who want to create maps by using open data. And that is that right now it's a huge problem. If you want to create an accurate map for your project that requires recreation and trail data, it's a huge problem. You have to go out and contact all these agencies. Their data may be up to date, may not be up to date, may not be compatible with what you're trying to do. It may be compatible. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The easiest way to handle this is by using a single, if everyone used a single open database. I'm getting calls all the time. Hey, I hear you got all this great data. Can you give it to me? And I'm like, no. Why are you calling me? I mapped it in the OpenStreetMaps. All you got to do is go to a website, mash a button, it's yours. That's all you got to do. So I was contacted by, most recently, last week, I was contacted by Hillary Henry. She's the director of the Gunnison Public Lands Initiative. And she's like, same question. I heard you had this data. I was like, yes, well, I don't really have it, but I'll tell you how you can get it. I gave her the link. What they're trying to do is they're working with the Wilderness Society and a large working group to protect public lands and wilderness around Crested Butte and in the Gunnison Valley. So she thought it was going to be a huge problem. She's like, Derek, I don't know how we're going to do this. We got to get all this data. We got to put it in the map. And I said, well, can you mash a button? So she mashed the button, got the file, sent it off to the Wilderness Society. They were able to import it into their ArcGIS shape file that they already had going in less than an afternoon. So that's Hillary Henry there. Sorry. Could you play the video for me, please? So I'm going to read this because I want to get it right. So I just want to conclude by saying that there are lots of trail users out there like me, and I'm here to speak for them. If you were to ask what the government can do to improve our outdoor experiences, increase safety, reduce user conflicts, give users more confidence to explore the great outdoors, and engage the public with conservation efforts, what can the government do? The answer is simple. Give them 100% complete and accurate trail and outdoor recreation maps that we can all follow on our phones. The only way to create a comprehensive trail and outdoor recreation map is if everyone collaborates together using one open map database that is incorporated with the mapping platform and mobile map that is built from the open data everyone has a stake in. JuicyTrails is infinitely scalable and incorporates all the necessary tools to create and serve public trail maps. If the government got behind a concerted effort to map all the trails in the U.S., I'm certain volunteers and all the stakeholders can map them in less than a year. It's not hard. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to speak with you today.